So you've heard me talk about how much I enjoy using BeatMaker 3 as my primary DAW, but what you might not have known is that for the longest time we've been waiting for some updates from Intua. It had been 11 months until finally they released an update about a week ago, and in this video we're going to cover everything that was added, changed, or fixed, and also some things that we might still want to see in the future. What is up, creatives? It's Jahrell, your music technologist, here to help you master the tech you need to make music freely. I make weekly tip and tutorial videos as well as gear reviews on all things music production. If you enjoy that kind of content, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be the first to catch the next one. So, better late than never, as they say. This may not be the first take you've heard on the new BeatMaker 3 update, but as I like to do, I like to take my time with new software and new software updates and actually make sure I have something substantial to tell you guys about what I'm experiencing with it. So without further ado, let's take a look at everything that came to BeatMaker 3 in the new update. And here we go, I got a screenshot of everything they changed in this version. So the new version is 3.0.14, and in this update they added duplicate tracks, reorder tracks, macro control value can be locked, releasing macro will reset to locked value, reorder macro controls, added rename session, color picker with palettes. They added copy samples options when saving a session. So those are the things that were added. As far as the things that were changed or fixed, not many of them are very big. The main one to me is they changed the autosave behavior to only save when changes occur, which I imagine is going to increase performance. Also, they made it to where you can undo any edits you do to a sample in the sample editor. But of course, all of that is just words on a page. Let's see how each of those things actually play out when looking in the software. So let's check it out. So here's the session I've been working on lately, a new beat. And before I play any audio, I just want to show you guys a couple of the major things that have changed. So some of you guys might remember from my BeatMaker 3 versus Cubasis 3 video that one of the main things I said Intua I would really appreciate them doing is to add the ability to duplicate tracks easily and seamlessly. And thank you, Intua, you listened. For those of you that haven't seen the video I just referenced, I'll link it up here and in the description as always. But let's check out how we can duplicate tracks. So if you press and hold on any bank, you can hit the duplicate button. That instantly takes the instrument and all the parameters on it and your MIDI data and creates a second version. The strange thing is that it switches the colors around. For whatever reason, Intua wants BeatMaker to keep your colors in the same order. I kind of wish it kept the same color that it originally was when you duplicate it, but that's minor. The amazing thing is we have this functionality finally. So all of the MIDI data from the top one is here. I can go in and delete it. Minor detail, they added a red highlight over the delete button. Okay, that's how you duplicate tracks. Super simple. Now, the next thing that you can do, which is also really dope, you can reorder these banks. So I can press and hold here, and there's a move bank option right here. Just hit the arrow, boom, it swapped it, it moved it down. Let's do it again. You can move it to wherever you need it. So I want to put it back at the top because that's where I like it. But that was easy. The next thing they added was an updated color picker. There was already a color picker, but now there's an updated one. You can press color right here, and you can have multiple palettes. So here's the first palette, there's the second palette, and you can customize these palettes. Obviously right now they're all set the same because you have to create your own palettes. But remember how I was saying BeatMaker 3 has you locked into the colors of the tracks that they have set up? Well, if you wanted every track to be the same color, you could create that in your own color palette. If you wanted just simply different colors than the ones they prescribe for you, you could create those palettes. And if you wanted different palettes for different songs, you can do that as well, which is pretty dope, and you can just save those palettes the way you want them. One minor cosmetic thing that I noticed is if you go up here to the hamburger menu, this section where all of your stuff is, in any of these tabs to be honest, is a new darker color. It used to be kind of the same lighter gray as this edge here, and now it's a darker gray. Not a big deal, but I think it's cool. So while we're here, another thing that they changed was the way you save your project. So I'm gonna click save here, and there's now a rename option. That was not there before. You could hit save and save as. So if I wanted to have my project have a different name without going into my sessions folder and clicking on the session, pressing and holding and changing it that way, I would have to hit save as and save it as a new file, and then I would have to go and delete the previous project. It's a whole mess. This is much, much, much better. I can just press rename and it'll allow me to change this whatever I need to change it to. There's still your basic save and save as buttons. So I'm going to press save as. So they've given us some updated options here as far as saving goes. So I believe copy session samples has always been here, and save banks separately has always been here. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe save patterns within banks is something that's new. I think that's pretty dope. So you can save essentially the MIDI files of the instruments you used within the banks folders within your session folder. So a couple things that are dope. You now have a copy user bank samples and a copy purchased samples option. This is going to make it much easier to share your projects with other people that are using BeatMaker 3. If you're doing things collaboratively, for example, like me and my little brother, we both use BeatMaker 3. So if I want to share my session with him, in the past, I would have to make sure he already had all the same samples as me. And he would have to have the same purchased packs from the BeatMaker sound store if I used any purchased sounds in order for him to get those directly in the project. Well, now it will save copies of the files that I have, whether it be my user samples, like any samples I have that my little brother doesn't have, as well as any purchase samples that I've gotten from the BeatMaker 3 sound store. Those will be included in the package when I save this. And I think that's dope. Big ups to Intuwa on this one. Functionality like this is just so subtle, but so helpful, so thank you for that. Now, another big thing that was changed that I don't hear a lot of people talking about is the macros section. So over here in your macros, you can now reorder all of your macros. So I'm gonna let you guys hear this track a little bit. I have some drums going in the back. I'm gonna show you guys what I can do with the macros there. So let's just hear it first. Cool, so I have an SV filter right now on my drums, just rolling off a little bit of the highs. And what I can do is, just like before, I can map any knob to a macro. So I'm gonna map the cutoff. You'll wanna double tap. I can map that to my macro controls and I'll hit macro 1. Now say I want something else mapped to my macros, like this knob. Double tap it, macro controls, put it in macro 2. So I'm back here on my macros channel. Before, you would be locked into having these knobs exactly where they are. You couldn't rearrange them. Now, say I wanted to put this second one up here next to the first one. So that would be macro 5 instead of macro 2. I can now hit this 3-dot menu, hit move, and select macro 5. Easy as that. Now, here's another thing that I think is super dope. They now have the ability to set your knobs in the macros to basically snap back to the bottom when you let go of it. So I think the place where this shines the most is when dealing with 808. So I'll load up a project that has some 808s in it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So many of you might have heard this session before, but I've just got some 808s and some drums with a sample in the background. Here's a quick peek. So if I go into those 808s right here, if I were to pull up this keyboard, you would see that there is a pitch wheel. Now I can press a note and I can bend it up and down. The problem is I can't set any parameters for how high or how low I want that to go. Most of the time I prefer for my 808s to be able to bend a full octave up and a full octave down. Now here's a workaround for that. What you can do is go to your sample tab and you can hit the tune button. You can double tap and you can map that to a macro. And I've done this before, but the problem is if you were to play it from the beginning, and you move this, the problem is I couldn't get that back to 50% fast enough if I were to play that live. There's no way. So what I can do now with the new update is, let me set this back to 50, If I press this little lock right here, what it's gonna do is it's gonna lock in the value I have. So if I move it down or up, it will snap back to where I had it before. So I'm gonna press the lock here. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. A lot of those are pretty subtle, but there's all kinds of stuff you can do with pitch bends and 808s. So this being able to snap back into place using the knobs is some much needed functionality. Now, I know the main question everyone has is, yeah, okay, cool new features, but is it more stable? My answer is, for the most part. As Intua continues to add updates, especially this one, things have gotten better as far as stability goes. I have been producing quite a bit over the last week or so, and I would be lying if I said it never crashed. But I only had one crash after several sessions this whole week, and I think that is definitely a step up from what it was before. I already didn't have many crashes very often, but one crash, I feel like I can deal with that. At the end of the day, we need stable software, we need stable DAWs in order to do what we do. So Intua, big ups for the updates, continue to make this better. We appreciate it as the consumers. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. If there's anything I talked about in this video as far as the update goes, or just BeatMaker 3 in general that you have questions about, please do leave them down in the comment section. I try to respond to every comment as best I can, and I'm happy to help everyone down there. If you're looking for more BeatMaker 3 tutorials and tip videos, definitely check out this playlist, which I will also link in the description, full of videos to help you with BeatMaker 3 making dope music. That is it for this video, creatives. Go make something dope, and I'll see you in the next video.